This week is Halloween, so I really wanted to make one last vampire doll before spooky season comes to an end. But when a heavy car door slammed on my finger, it looked like there might not be a doll this week at all. So I have problems with proprioception, which means sometimes I can't judge exactly where my limbs are if I'm not looking at them. On Sunday morning, I went to shut the car door and unfortunately I didn't notice my finger was in the way. It's not pretty, but it's just the tip. I've been resting it for a couple of days to let the swelling go down, so I figured if I could tape it up well enough to immobilise the joint, I should be able to keep working. Fortunately, it's not my dominant hand. I think stuffing will be the hardest part, so I'm going to try making a smaller size doll and see how I get on. For the head, body and hands, I've chosen some quilting cotton from the Moda Bella Solids range. This shade is Zen Grey. I'm going to use some black and white stripes for the arms and legs. I've got a template which I used to make a 19cm doll last year. Whilst that one turned out well, there were some elements of the pattern that I felt could be better. I want to make this one fully articulated with bead jointed limbs and a button jointed neck. So I'm making a few changes to the arms and legs. For me, a lot of the design process is just playing around with bits of card and fabric. There's a lot of trial and error involved. I don't make detailed drawings and measurements, my process is very organic. I'm going with dark reds and black for the colour scheme. I think there's going to be a lot of lace involved, and I'll have a dig through my fabric stash to see if I've got something I can use for a bodice. I'm stiff stuffing the pieces with some polyester fibre. This might take a while. The neck needs to be really firmly stuffed to support the joint I'm going to use. I'm left-handed and fortunately it's my right hand that's restricted, but I never realised just how much I use both hands to manipulate the pieces as I'm working. I keep getting cramp in my hand from holding my finger out of the way. I'm starting to think that maybe making a smaller doll wasn't such a great idea. Gripping the tiny pieces to close and bead joint them is so awkward. I'd normally edit out bits I struggle with, but I wanted to leave some of this in just to show why it's taking so long. These little metal beads are so pretty, but some of them have rough edges, so I'm using a bead reamer to smooth the holes a bit so they don't snag the thread. These are great little tools to have handy. I'll put a link to them in the description. I decided to give her some simple shoes in black acrylic paint. I'm using Mars Black mixed with a fabric medium. I'm currently using the Liquitex fabric medium. This doesn't need heat setting. I still give it a blast with a hairdryer though, just to dry it a bit quicker. I'll leave those to finish off drying while I attach the head. I'm button jointing the head to the neck with some Gutermann top stitch thread. One button goes on the back where it'll be hidden by the dress. Then I pass the thread up through the neck, right through to the top of the head, where another button will anchor it. Then it goes all the way back down to the first button. If you get the placement of the two buttons right, the tension between them creates a strong joint. The legs are hinge jointed with a small stitch at each side. Again, I'm using top stitch thread. I'll attach the arms later. Before I do anything else, I want to start on the face. As usual, I'm shading the eye area with Derwent Coloursoft pencils. I recently found a new range of vegan-friendly artist colour pencils, so of course I need to try those. Coloursoft pencils are great, but I love trying out new art materials, so I'm quite excited about it. I'm hoping the new pencils will be here in time for the next doll, so make sure you're subscribed if you want to see how that goes. I've given the shading a coat of fixative spray, so while that's drying, I'm working on the dress. I've made us some underwear from burgundy lace and found some quilting cotton with a tiny rose print for the bodice. I sometimes sew the trim onto the dress, but as this is so small, I want to keep it looking nice and neat. So I'm going to glue some trim around the top once it's on the doll. I'm using some super thick tacky glue on the ribbon. This holds really quickly. I'll secure it with a couple of pins, then by the time I finish the face, it should be completely dry. I've decided on some black wooden buttons for the eyes. These are stitched right through to the back of the head with a long doll needle. I'm drawing on the face detail with Derwent Line Maker pens. I don't make any plans or pencil in the eyeliner designs, I just draw it in freehand. I try to keep all of my dolls looking unique, but I've been doing this so long they all do seem to end up looking quite similar. I'm marking the mouth out in pencil for this doll though. I want to give her some fangs, and while slightly wonky fangs can look cute, I want to make sure I get them fairly symmetrical. I'm adding a little bit of shading under the mouth in dark red, then some white acrylic on the fangs really makes them stand out. Now that glue is dry on the bodice, I can attach the arms. They just need a couple of stitches through the bead and I'll fasten the thread off under the back of the dress. To finish off the dress, I'm going to give her a simple tutu in burgundy and black lace. This is really easy to do, but it looks so effective. It's just 2 layers of lace with a seam up the back of each. I gather them up with a running stitch and then sew them to the body to hold it in place. I'm using some super chunky acrylic yarn for the hair. This is all needle felted in with the Clover tool and 38 gauge needles. This yarn is from the Signet Seriously Chunky range. The fibres in it are lovely and smooth, so they look like natural wavy hair without going frizzy. It hardly needs any brushing at all. I'm felting most of it in before I unravel it, so it keeps that lovely wavy texture. I want to style the hair in pigtails, but I'll have to work around that button on the top, so I'll have to take the parting around to one side and sweep the hair across. I've covered most of the head with black yarn. I'm just adding a little streak of red at the front. I've tied her pigtails with some black lace bows. This tiny bunny and crossbones charm is perfect as a necklace on some satin ribbon. I've named her Eloise Death Knell. If like me you can't get enough of vampires, here's another one I think you'll love. Go watch that now and I'll see you next time. Bye!